Hi there folks, my name's NovaWing24 and welcome today to my, it's a little, it's not a review today. Today is a bit of an editorial. I think is probably going to be the best way to sort of describe what I'm going to be talking about today. Today we're going to be having a quick discussion around flight simulators and Flight Simulator 10 FSX, as it's colloquially known, as well as Microsoft Flight. We're going to be having a bit of a discussion around that today. So we're going to have a look and see where we are and what's happening in the world. So we'll just sort of start taxing here as I start to sort of do the whole discussion thing today. Well, folks, I suppose the best place to sort of get started is to say, look, as anyone who's seen my channel, and hopefully some of you have been around for a little while watching me, the fact that I really like Microsoft Flight. I mean, Microsoft Flight was really got me back into flight simming. It really did. Like, I'd looked at other things before and had a little bit of mucking around with some of the stuff, and was just generally not very impressed by what I saw, and was a little bit put off, and I'll call it. I was put off a little bit by some of the other people who were kicking around, and just intimidated is probably also a bit of a better word as well. So yeah, it sort of put me off for a little bit. Then Microsoft Light came along, and I sort of went, okay, let's have a play of it, and what, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I've got the videos on my channel and the hours in it to actually prove that. So yeah, but well, unfortunately, sadly, with the impending doom of Microsoft Flight, I have had to look at had to revisit some of the options, and you know what, I've become pleasantly surprised by what's happened with FSX over the last few years, as we sort of do our quick takeoff roll here on our Texan. So I've been picked back up FSX again, and I've been starting to look at it and play it a bit more, and see what's going on a little bit with it. And you know what, I wanted to sort of talk about what's happened to it over the last few years, and a little bit about maybe where it's going as well. So with FSX, I mean, let's be honest here. FSX is a piece of software that dates back to 2006. Like, it's old. When it comes to computer software, or computer hardware, software, anything, it is old. It is really old. So for it to have longevity, and the fact that it is still the most popular flight sim around, and the most played flight sim around, now pushing what, 8 years now since its release. That's a pretty impressive effort, and it sort of got me thinking as to why is it that people still play it, and why is it still, although Microsoft aren't developing it. I mean, they moved on from FSX and moved to MS Flight and promptly dropped the ball with that, and have pretty much left the flight community to their own devices after that. And we've had a couple of other people come along. Most noticeably X-Plane came along for a little bit, and they mucked around, but really there was nobody that's really ever managed to knock FSX off its perch, and that got me thinking, why is that? Now, it comes down to a couple of things, I think. I think the first one that it comes down to is quite simply the fact that there is such a huge community out there that isn't just about playing it. Like, there's a huge development community out there, and even now, 8 years on, it's still got new pieces of software and new add-ons still being developed for it. Now, operating systems barely have shelf lives that long. Oh, we've got some balloons there. I was flying past them. Operating systems barely even have shelf lives past that long. So, for the fact that it's still, actively being developed, and there's a huge community still actively playing it, I mean, that is a huge thing. So, what is it about it? Why do people keep coming back to FSX? And why do people, they mucked around with X-Plane, but It didn't take off as much as it could have done. And why did Microsoft Flight not do so well? And bottom line, I think it actually comes down to something that was distinctly lacking in Microsoft Flight, was the simple fact that FSX, from when it shipped, so when it actually, like the initial retail release to market edition, was ready to go from the start with a self-development kit. It actually had support and was designed from the ground up to actually support modders and support people who wanted to make content for it. And that's something that you just, yeah, Flight just didn't have. So, apart from the fact that Microsoft didn't really support it and fund it very well, I mean, that's sort of going to have a lot to do with that. But, anyway, we'll leave that discussion to another day. So, it's a self-development kit. So, from the ground up, it was designed with, modders and with people who wanted to expand their experience in mind. Alright, so that's that one. So that gave a bit of longevity, and that would last, maybe a few years, wouldn't it? That's it. But why has this kept going beyond that? So, what I began sort of thinking about then is the fact that the realism that it offers. Now, in FSX, you can actually do things like, you can shut engines down, you can cause random failures, and it's been commented on more than one forum that FSX is a very realistic experience, and it does, give a basis for for people who want to do some flight training. I mean, hell, I know myself, one of the reasons why I came back to FSX is the fact that I knew that I can actually use it to get my basics and learn some of the basics of flying around, which I could do it in flight as well, but FSX allows me to model things like engine fails and stuff like that. So what do I do in procedures and emergencies and stuff like that? So the things that FSX can do was phenomenal, and at the time it was absolutely groundbreaking, and to this day it really does still set itself apart. But again, all things come to an end, as we know, as Microsoft likes to keep reminding us about Microsoft Flight. Is that what is the future for FSX? Now, there's been a bit of discussion and some communities sort of some of the communities out there and some people in the flight simulator community making some rather negative comments and negative connotations about some of the expansions and add-ons that are coming out. Now, if you have a look at some of these add-ons, I mean, these add-ons are costing more than the game is. Even when the game was first retail, like the add-ons are huge. They're really expensive. But you have to ask yourself, why do you get them? What's in it for you? And this is where it gets, some people, and I ask these questions as well. I mean, why would I get certain add-ons? Like, I own a few now, and put it this way, I sometimes feel like I always used to look at Train Simulator. I think it's Train Simulator on Steam, where the base game was about $19, maybe $25. But if you added all the DLC to cart, you'd spend $3.5 grand. That's mind-boggling. But I look at FSX, and you can actually spend a hell of a lot more, like a lot more. In fact, if in FSX, there are people out there who actually make add-ons where you can actually get a full, not just virtual cockpit, an actual, Boeing 737 cockpit or a Cessna cockpit, where the guy will actually come out, put the frame in for you, put all the panels, a PC, everything, set it all up, so that you actually have the full, you've got a flight simulator that is pretty much up to professional grade standards in your room. So that's, that's the kind of lengths that you can take FSX to. So, again, reflecting on my initial reasons for sort of thinking about this is what made FSX so popular, and why is it still so popular so long after its release date? It comes down to the fact that it's just it was designed with flexibility and the future in mind. I mean, there were a few things that maybe were forgotten, like, for example, the fact that as it stands, FSX doesn't really use your graphics, the 3D graphics card very much. It runs pretty much everything off your CPU. So you know, there's a whole forum, a whole swathe of modders and people who will give you advice on how to actually tweak the settings in your FSX to actually get the best out of it and actually be able to give you the most advantage and things like that. But FSX isn't something for everyone. It's really not. As I was saying, like the default experience is quite good. I think it's quite good. I mean, it's obviously gives you more when you buy the add-ons, but the add-ons aren't really necessary. It's only there if you want it, and it really you need to think about what you want out of your experience. So if you are thinking about getting into FSX, my suggestion is you get the base, get the core base game, the free game. It's not free. It's not free. That's Flight, isn't it? So FSX, you can pick it up now. The final release version, which includes the expansion pack and both service packs, you can pick that up now for usually less than $30 Australian. That's pretty cheap. It's pretty cheap. It really is. You can't get most anything else. Even games that are years and years old, unless they appear on like Good Old Gamers or something like that, then you're never really going to see them that cheap. As I'm just going to try a bit of inverted flight for folks, so we can run down through these buildings. So yeah, you've got all sorts of various options, and it really is about what are you wanting out of it. I think that if you wanted to give it a try, if you enjoyed Flight and you haven't done FSX, think about FSX. I mean, I'm still hopeful that Microsoft might do something positive with Flight. They might release some of the source code or some of the multiplayer sort of enabling code to actually allow people to get in and play with each other after they shut the servers down. But let's be honest, it's Microsoft. It's probably not going to happen. But if you're listening, guys, please let us know. I'm more than happy to pay for a server. Anyway, look, give it a go. See what you think of it, because as I said, I played it. I picked it up a long time ago, and it didn't do a lot for me. But I was going into it for the wrong reasons. And now that I've a little bit older, a little bit more mature, and I know what I want out of my experience, I'm not just here to shoot things and crash things into each other. I'm actually here to things like enjoy scenery and just enjoy the thrill of flying. Like, this has become a bit more of a thing for me. I still will always love Flight first. Flight will always be my first love when it comes to flight simulators, but I will grudgingly admit that FSX is getting pretty good. So, again, folks, as I said, it's a bit of a rambling thing, this one, I know, but what I think I'm trying to say is that the fact that FSX is a good example where a solid investment in a piece of software from a corporate developmental point of view can really pay off for a consumer in ways that probably weren't really imagined if the initial developer is actually willing to put a few extra things in. So he's willing to put in things like support for other developers and for self-development kits and stuff like that. If you're willing to put that in from the get-go and actually willing to go, you know what, we're happy for you guys to at least explore the options of making your own content and providing an added user experience to all users, then you know what, it really speaks a lot of volumes for the longevity and the future of that game. It really does, or that title, that piece of software. As it is, Microsoft sort of no longer officially supporting it. Haven't done for a little while. Additionally, funnily enough, Microsoft actually no longer own the rights to it either. So the core engine and what it makes it all work was actually sold to Lockheed Martin a few years ago. Which have led to their development of what they call Prepared, Lockheed Martin's Prepared 3D. Now that's an interesting one that is marketed very, very heavily as it is not for home entertainment. It is not for computer. It is for people who are wanting to use flight training and simulation experience. So, but it is essentially built off the FSX. It is built off FSX, off the core engine. Shares a lot of commonality with it. Now, with the latest version of Prepared version 2, They have tweaked the hell out of them. Rewritten. It seems that they've written a lot of the graphics sort of stuff. So now it is actually able to send a lot more to the graphics card. So you get DX11 now. So for now, myself, I haven't actually got a copy yet to review, but to those who I speak with and some colleagues of mine who have got it, they've all said that the graphics are a lot better, and we're starting to see the stuff. Starting to see the stuff that we could only dream about, or that we used to see regularly in Microsoft Flight. Yeah, so the future of flight simulation is alive and well again. It was a little, I think it was a little unhealthy for a while there. But yeah, with Lockheed Martin coming out prepared, I think it's back on track again. So, But getting back to this whole things, like, what should one do about FSX? Well, FSX, as I said, it's a great title. Again, it's a great title if you know what you want to get out of it. If you just want to go around and blow stuff up and crash into things and stuff like that, then yeah, you know what? Like Microsoft Flight, it's not going to be for you. If you want the real world training, or just a lot of this a very quality simulation experience, then FSX is something you should be looking at. And it's coming in a bit high on this approach, I think. Coming in there, my beautiful little text on there. Not sure. Yeah, so yeah, it's coming. It comes down to, you need to know what you want to get out of it. If you know what you want out of your experience, then you are going to achieve it. If you don't know what you want out of your experience, you're going to possibly spend a lot of money, and you're going to hate the world for it. So the best thing I can advise is that give it a go. It's pretty, for less than $30, it's not a bad investment, and the default is still pretty damn good. The default is still pretty good. It's just, yeah, if you want to then take it further, that's when you start looking at add-ons like from for example Orbx, and the guys are at fullterrain.com. What they're essentially offering is long term is an eventual suite of products, which they're marketing as a full simulator overhaul experience. So that full simulator experience essentially will allow you to, takes FSX and just makes it what everybody dreams it could be, is what they're sort of going for with that. Now, what you're actually seeing here is what I've been flying over is some of their product. So the airport I took off from was their Caloundra pack. So the Caloundra airport pack, and the terrain I've actually got is the Australia section. So this is most predominantly the Queensland section. Yeah, they've got a whole range of really good freeware, and they cover quite a few places in the world. American viewers will be very interested in the Pacific Northwest, so very highly rated, and definitely something, if you're looking at taking your experience further, definitely something to look at. But the add-on community is very much alive and well and kicking, and there's so many different add-ons that you can actually get for this as well. I mean, there's the aircraft core, there's of course, and there's quite a lot of good quality freeware ones as well as the payware ones. So you can really build so much and get so much out of this title if that's what you want. But again, it is not for everyone. One of the other advantages as well is the fact that if you're sort of going, why would I get into FSX if it's so old, when Lockheed Martin prepared is sort of the future. One good reason to actually consider getting into it, if you are wanting to get a lot out of your flight simulator experience, is because it is Lockheed Martin's prepared is built off of an FSX. Essentially, it is built essentially off FSX. What you can actually do is that a lot of the add-ons, either now or into the future, are going to be made prepared compatible. So you can actually then, so you're not going to have to pay a second time for a lot of it, which is the big thing, which a lot of people sort of are always concerned about. So, all right, folks. So as I said, look, it's this is something that is not for everyone. It is going to be something that you have to know if it's good for you, and it's not going to be good for everyone. It really isn't. Um, my suggestion is, give it a crack. Give it a go. Really give it a go, and give it an honest go, because at the end of the day, this is something that it is a niche market. It is very much a niche market, but if you enjoy that niche market, then I think you're going to get a lot of value out of this in the future. As I said, the future that is being offered by companies like Full Terrain, like Orbx, things like with iris simulations, with all their add-ons that they're bringing through as well, with things like the Rex series from Real Environment Extreme. I mean, you can just add so much into it. I mean, the Orbx guys, they mostly focus on terrain and airports. That's their sort of speciality. Then you got some people like Real Environment, the team over at Real Environment Extreme. I mean, their Rex series of products. They do fantastic sort of weather modeling, where you can get true real life sort of weather formations. I mean, the weather that I'm using here is the stuff that Orbx have done, mostly just a bit of screenshot stuff, but it's still amazing. The default stuff's good, but this is incredible. So when it goes back to, as I said, like, my questions was always like, why would I invest this kind of money in a title this is sold? Is because the quality of product that you get at the end of the day is pretty damn incredible. It really is, and that's why I've come back. I've come back to FSX, and I'm enjoying it again. So, folks, as I said, that's my little thoughts and whimsicals and just general ramblings about the topic. Um, I was never an FSX hater, but I was definitely not in the four camp. Um, but I have come to it. I now that I've seen what can be done with FSX, uh, it does blow the mind, and at the same time, it does also say to me that, wow, think of all the things they could have done with Microsoft Flight if they'd actually got it right from day one. But hey, I guess we will never know what could have happened with that. And now we look on to the future. So we look on to the future for FSX. Long live FSX, and its prodigal son, Lockheed Martin's prepared 3D version 2. Alright, folks, I suppose a quick little last little bit summary here. So as I said, the terrain you've been watching me fly around in today has been the Orbx Australia pack, specifically the Queensland sort of, I think it's the green pack specifically. I've got the all-in-one bundle. Terrain mesh supplied also by then with their Holger mesh, which is freeware, by the way, folks. Aircraft I've been flying around in today is the Beechcraft T6A Texan 2 by Iris Simulations. Now, this was once upon a time freeware. However, the wonderful folk over at Iris Simulations who made the Jabiru, which I reviewed last week, they have actually made this one freeware. So I highly recommend that you download it and have a bit of fun with it. A lot of fun as a turboprop trainer there. So amazing quality virtual cockpit, both front and rear seats. Well, folks, thank you very much for listening to my random little ramblings today. It's been an absolute pleasure talking and flying for you today. In a couple of days, we're going to have our next little installment coming up with Troublemaker. He and I will be taking on a war game again and some more mods. So look forward to seeing you there. Otherwise, folks, take care, safe skies to all, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.